I truly believe we're always guided and supported, even in times when we may feel so alone in some of the biggest challenges in our life. But I've seen evidence of this time and time again when I would be going through something and just the right book would come into my life that had the words that deeply resonate with me and spoke truth to me. Or someone would come into my life that would help me reframe things and see things from a different perspective. And so I truly believe that when we are receptive and open to some of the things in life that help us through some of these challenges, it allows us to get through them with more grace and a little bit less suffering. As you may have experienced that when you go through some challenges, you'll have days where you feel like, wow, I'm actually doing better than I expected. And then just when you think that it's smooth sailing and you've gotten past some of this, something else inevitably happens and kind of smacks you down and helps you realize that maybe you have a little bit more healing to do. And so I was at the gym the other day having one of those days where I was just feeling the immensity of some of the challenges I've gone through in the last year and a half. And as I was on the bike in the gym, I tend to listen to podcasts, and one of the podcasts referenced a book called The Coffee Bean. And I have it right here. It's written by John Gordon and Damon West. And the funny thing is that I had read this book about 2 years ago. I totally forgot I had it. And as they were referencing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that story. And it was the exact story I needed to hear in that moment. It really helped me reframe what was going through my mind, what I was experiencing, and just see things from a different perspective. So I truly believe in that moment, I was being guided in coming back to some of the truths that I know to be true in life. And so I want to share this story with you as a way to just pay it forward because it was something that I needed in that moment and really helped me reframe some of the things I was experiencing. So if you are going through a challenge right now, if you're in the thick of it and you are really feeling like there's chaos and turmoil all around you and you're not really sure how to handle it, I hope that this story helps you just as much as it helped me in that moment. And so the story of the coffee bean is that in the thick of some of these really challenging moments in our life, the times when things seem to just fall apart and unravel, and we're in the thick of it and we're feeling the chaos of all of it, that we have a choice in that moment to act as a carrot, to act as an egg, or to act as a coffee bean. So if you could imagine a pot of boiling water, and that is the chaos of the external world. It's everything that is maybe happening around you that you feel like you have no control over, that you wouldn't plan for all those things, and you're just trying to survive in the situations and all the challenges of it. That's that pot of boiling water. So you can be a carrot in that situation where if you throw a carrot into a pot of boiling water, what happens is that it softens. So we can live our lives with this belief that the outside world is more powerful than our inside world. And what happens is that we become softened and we feel like we're victims of our circumstances, that the outside world has control over our life and how we're living it, and that we're just sitting here and allowing it to soften us as we go. Or we can choose to believe that we are eggs. And what happens when you throw an egg into a pot of boiling water is that it hardens. And so someone who has this belief is someone who is going through a lot and they become hardened through it. They become negative and cynical, always looking at the worst of everything, believing that life is a battle and that everything is just an awful experience. And so we become very hardened if we choose to be an egg. But when we choose to be a coffee bean, what happens in that water is that the water gets transformed by the coffee bean. And in these circumstances, the coffee bean is stronger and more powerful than the outside world. And so this is the power of the story, because at any point, no matter what is happening outside of you, if you truly believe you are a coffee bean and that you are more powerful within you and that you can transform your inner environment and then transform the outer environment, that is the most empowering mindset that you can have in life. And so when we're going through the thick of things and we're feeling all the chaos of it, if we can allow ourselves to feel that in this moment, it may suck, it may be awful. If you can look back on your life and some of the biggest challenges you had, likely if you allowed yourself to be transformed by them, to learn the lessons from them, to grow from them and evolve from them, you can look back on them with gratitude and realize that they were all placed there to help you become a better version of yourself. And it's only a blessing, some of those challenges, when we allow them to transform us, allow us to become a better version of ourselves, allow us to look at them from that coffee bean perspective, that my inner environment can truly transform not only my experience, but also the external environment. And that at every moment, we may not have a choice of what's happening around us. There's things that happen, and there's a lot of awful things that do happen in life, and inevitably they aren't always in our control. And while we can't control that, we always have the power to give them a different meaning. So we can look at them as if we are a victim of our circumstances. We can look at them as if that they are just another awful thing that happens in the world. Or we can look at them as if this is being put in my life to help me evolve, expand, and become another version of myself. I am going to transform this experience. I am going to give it a different meaning. I have the power to not only elevate and expand myself, but then also affect and influence all the people around me who I come in contact with because of my choice to transform this experience. And that resonated with me so deeply that day at the gym because that's what I intend to do with this podcast and with how I choose to live my life. And that the last year and a half has been probably the most challenging time of my life. And I could easily feel like I'm just a sitting duck allowing it to happen to me, or I could be hardened and bitter and be blaming people for the circumstances. But what I've chosen to do is to learn from it. What I've chosen to do is share messages that I've learned through this experience, through this podcast. What I've chosen to do is continue to evolve from the inside out and hopefully inspire others to also choose to be a coffee bean. And so I'm so grateful for that message coming to me that day and then have that ripple effect because when I heard it, I said to myself, I have to share this because this is something that deeply resonated with me. And I hope that if you're listening to this and you're going through something right now, you're going through a challenge, that you choose to be a coffee bean in that challenge and that you know that you have the power within you to transform not only yourself, but everyone around you by choosing to learn from the experience, choosing to give it a different meaning, and choosing to embrace your power and live the life that you choose to create. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so grateful you're here.